Hi, it's me again. I just wanted to get this out of the way, but I really did not want to make this video, but I decided it would be what's best, and because I hope it will cause some positive change to happen. I've had a couple of friends of mine wanting me to make this video as well, because it seems I'm one of the few YouTubers relating to BIAST who's a decent amount of reach, despite me saying not too long ago that I didn't want to be associated with BIAST, but you know. I'm going to try to format this video in a better way than the last one, mostly just as a way to keep improving. And I'm just going to say, just as a way to list out what I'm going to talk about, I'm going to start with the drama that happened with me almost a month ago, because I never explained it in the video. Then talk about what happened between me and Finch, which I talked about slightly on Twitter. And talk about smaller stuff involving me, or in between all of that. Just talk about random stuff that I've had issues with, and then explain what I'm just going to dub like what happened with Aero, who's a staff member, because it is fairly relevant to what happened with me, and then just talk about random stuff. Hopefully it's obvious, but please don't harass anyone I mention in this video. A lot of stuff has happened, even considering the older videos, the older drama videos, I guess. But don't harass anybody, because I don't know how many times I can say it, but it just makes everything worse. It's only causes more trouble. And it's just, not good. Just don't do that. So I guess just to sort of get into it, on September 22nd, which was 2 months ago at the time of writing, I was checking the BIAST Discord when I saw new messages, as in like a new unread message in what was the content creator promotion channel, and was shocked to see that a staff member, whose name I don't even remember, although not that it matters, was posted a decently big announcement in the channel saying that I, referring to me, was no longer allowed to promote any of my videos in the server, which also meant my content creator role would be stripped from me, which, I quickly checked and I did lose it. I did lose the content creator role. And they simply said they were keeping the reason as to why private. Obviously shocked seeing this randomly said about me. I went to the main chat to ask what I did or what happened, but was ignored by absolutely everybody. I then went into RAC, the server Finch got me to make with or for them, depending on later context, and said that they were canceling me, just the main chat, and asked if anyone in the chat there knew what was going on as well, with just all of them being surprised that they actually took away my content creator role. And less than a minute though, soon afterwards, several staff members from the main server joined all at once and started ominously and vaguely almost belittling me, saying stuff like, "You know what you did, and give up, he already knows what he did wrong." With every time they said that, I just didn't understand what I even did in the first place to warrant being treated like this from staff. At the same time this was happening, I went and asked Melting what I did wrong, because they were the only staff member who I even somewhat knew and had DM history with, because I had reported several exploiters in the past, and they just, generally just had DM history with them, and asked what I had done wrong, who was confused when I said I had my role removed, and quickly said they would get to the bottom of everything, but most importantly, they said that they weren't aware of anything I had done wrong and didn't actually know why I was content creator banned. As Melting was trying to figure out what was happening, several mods, the community manager Ellie, who is a reoccurring character, I'm going to be mentioning them later, so it's important, and a developer were throwing insults at me and people in RAC who were trying to ask questions, also semi-defending me. Notably, Finch was not really defending me, but instead just trying to get them to stop because they were technically outside of their jurisdiction, because then none of them were technically staff in the server and were breaking the server's rules by essentially raiding the server to just cause trouble. Melting would quickly get back to me and say that I was content creator banned for, I quote, retweeting fetish art on my Blue Sky account. And then shows screenshots between them and Ellie, where notably Ellie was using Blue Sky retweets that were, at the time of this happening, over a month ago, which was when I stopped using Blue Sky entirely. Ellie was also taking a joke tweet from several months before this happened and took it completely seriously and was using it as actual real evidence against me. Which said tweet was a screenshot between me and an actual real life friend of mine where I said, as a joke, quote unquote, "Can you draw my soda with boobs?" pleading emoji. I thought this was before I even had made my first video on BIAST, at least to my knowledge. It was before I had even interacted with anyone from the game at all. Ellie was essentially trying to say and convince everyone on the staff team that I was promoting, quote, "fat furry fetish art" to minors, which was not true at all. Which the only thing that they even somewhat had against me was, at most, suggestive retweets. When the other things they were trying to use against me were old joke tweets between friends, or my Roblox bio, because yes, apparently Ellie thought that as a part of this supposed fetish that I had, that they were trying to convince people that I had, they were trying to say that my Roblox bio was a part of it, even though it's literally a quote from JX1 from I Has a Face Laws, as in the ARG, showing that they were running with literally anything to try to get rid of me. Eventually, Servergo also started DMing me and basically started telling me that they don't think I should have been banned and that this was a quote-unquote nothing burger and they were trying to resolve it as quickly as possible. However, notably, Servergo said that not even the lead devs were aware of what was happening, and Servergo and Melting didn't even find out until I directly said something to them. Servergo then directly tells me that Ellie basically planned all of this out and started joking about the mod team getting punished, and then apologizing for it, and both Melting and Servergo basically at the same time start apologizing in DMs, and my content creator ban gets lifted and I get the rollback, and it's basically like almost like a stillness in the air because everything goes silent everywhere. The next day, Melting directly tells me that all of the mod team is against me and just says that trying to argue with them is pointless. From this point onwards, members of the staff team and various random users in the game server and overall Discord community would treat me almost as like a lesser person, and nothing was ever done, which I'm mostly just gonna list off here, which I may or may not have screenshots for, because I don't feel like I did not want to dwell on this, but it's important to bring up. For one, I noticed that people in the main chat seemed to act like I wasn't even there when I was trying to involve myself in chat and just conversate with the community. Which, the only people that actually did acknowledge my existence the majority of the time were just people replying to me, like saying like, "Whoa, on Teapot," as they were basically just fans that were surprised to see me being there, and never actually as a part of a conversation. Second, it seemed like moderators or anyone on the moderation team didn't even want to be in the same space with me outside of very specific people, which I just don't want to name, mostly because I don't want anyone else to get in trouble or anything like that. From this point onwards, I can recall at least 3 instances that where testers or just someone on the staff team would join me and then specifically just kill me and only me, or they would do the complete opposite and nuke everyone on the server and then leave. And nothing would end up coming from them doing this. No punishments or anything. And it's happened more than 3 times, but I can just specifically recall 3 times where it happened. And even sometimes 90% of the care, 90% of the time it seemed like they did not care what they were doing when a staff joined me, and the only staff that didn't actively try to ruin my time on the game, the only staff that, stutter. The only staff that weren't trying to ruin my time on the game were Cervico, Drifter, and Finch. Although, again, I'll talk about Finch in a moment. Final thing mostly was just to put it out there, but I've also had several people be very crass and swearing at me in the main chat as a part of kind of the first topic I brought up with no repercussions. And usually, people were swearing at each other in the chat, but it's usually in a joking way. But with me, it was like just like I did not know these people, and they were just directly just telling me to F off and to go F myself, just for just kind of showing up. And I can even remember an instance where someone started cussing me out over a course of several minutes in main chat for just no reason. At which this person now actually works on the game, so they basically got hired after basically having like a fit at me in the main chat with no repercussions. I also had people almost making jabs at me in the CC promo channel and only me when I posted some of my videos. So there's also that as well, because I didn't, for the most part, I didn't see, or I guess not for the most part. I meant to say as as much as I can recall, I was the only person who was treated like this. I was the only person who was basically just being made fun of or having my videos made fun of in the CC promo channel for just being me, I guess. For the most part, I just tried to ignore everything and have fun playing the game while making the occasional video while I was at it after this had originally happened. But everything just kind of started to stack on itself, and everything just all together made me feel miserable, and for the most part, no one cared. And it became harder to just play the game because of all the staff joining me. Whether it was to mess with me or to just hang out, it just made playing the game a lot less fun over time, which I already had to deal with all the pitfalls and problems that the gameplay itself has. Even a month after this happened, I was the only person punished, over basically nothing. None of the staff were ever reprimanded, especially Ellie, who in fact was later promoted last I checked. Even though I wasn't banned, everything gave me the vibe they didn't want me around the game. But people like Melting or the higher-ups just wanted to keep me around to keep making videos on the game, to continue giving the game entirely free promotion, because my channel isn't even monetized. I don't even make money doing this. I'll never be able to confirm that part, or technically any of that, but it really is just how it really seems to, like how it looks to me. And I've had several people say that they also feel the same way. Several times I did try to say that I would leave and stop playing the game, but I simply liked the game too much, and I couldn't bring myself to do it. But eventually I did. Mostly just because I just couldn't take it anymore. It was just too stressful. So, soon afterwards, out of curiosity, after leaving RAC and the main BIAST server, I just asked Finch how they felt about me, because it just seemed like a majority, or almost all of the staff, hated me. And especially because it had been a while since we had last talked. And they actually said how much they missed me not being in the server and that they didn't hate me. But then the next day, after I said that I was no longer going to be doing anything BIAST related, Finch would unfollow me, among other things that I'll keep private. I went to them and said that was giving me mixed messages considering what they had said the day before. And kind of as like I don't know what the quite word is for it, but it's just to like as a way to try to see why I just asked if they didn't want to interact with me because I didn't want to touch BIAST anymore, which wasn't meant to be a full legitimate question. It was more meant to be a start of this what just why. But then they just very coldly replied, "Yeah, pretty much," which really hurt me because that basically just confirmed what I originally thought before asking them the day before. And especially because Finch made it seem like we were almost friends. And then to suddenly want to have nothing to do with me really pissed me off and upset me at the same time. And it made me rethink everything. It just makes me feel like that they never cared about me as a person, despite me trying my hardest to be as friendly with them as possible when it seemed like that they were having a hard time in real life. And in retrospect, I feel like they just used me to make their server for them because they said they didn't know how to make a Discord server and just convinced me to set up all of the bots in the server itself for them. And even the actual possibility that they were just riding off my popularity in the community to promote their server or to even make the new OC off of Teapots at the same time, which would later then get into the game. I just felt used first by BIAST as a whole, and then by Finch as just a singular person. Rightfully, this deeply upset me, as I said, and that this eventually turned into anger, and I just started blocking every staff member I possibly knew of on Twitter, as I just didn't want anything to do with the game anymore, and I didn't even want it showing up on my page. And I also blocked Finch everywhere. This seemed to be what attracted the staff's attention, as apparently me announcing I'm quitting making biased content on YouTube and leaving all the Discord servers related to it apparently wasn't enough for them. And to me, it just seemed like, in retrospect, they were just trying to do damage control, as I felt they were when Ellie did what, they did to me. One of the staff members started DMing me on Twitter and basically just started asking me questions of what had happened when, quite frankly, I think they already knew, considering, they're literally staff. The conversation spanned over a few days but ended over a week ago, with them saying or hinting at something going to happen, but nothing ever came of it. I haven't blocked all BIAST staff members. Most of the ones that I were mutuals with I didn't block because, they felt chill. Although I would see that Frex blocked me for seemingly no reason, even though I don't recall ever doing anything to them. So I assume Ellie possibly was spreading around stuff, this same thing about me. Now, I originally wasn't going to make this video, as I said earlier, or if I'm going to say later. It depends on where and if I write it in the script. As I was going to play other stuff, but soon after, I ended up finding out that what Ellie did to me, they then did to someone else who was a staff member. Except the staff member was actually banned and punished. I was informed by several people privately that someone by the name of Aero, who last I checked was a staff lead, suddenly disappeared from the main BIAST server, and I wasn't told much else for a bit until someone came to me asking if I knew anything, which I didn't, and then started telling me and showing me stuff. Essentially, Aero was in a Discord group chat with other staff members and basically made weird jokes about someone being a bottom, which hopefully I don't have to explain what that means in this context. And apparently this was enough to remove them from the staff team. Aero would later make a response doc delete the doc and then make a second doc better explaining things, which I will have in the description. From having read both the docs, I'm just going to say I don't think this was a justified ban whatsoever, nor should they have been completely fired or demoted. Should they have said those things? No. Simply put, they shouldn't have. However, they apologized soon after it happened in that very same group chat, and everything was good between them. And even then, it just doesn't feel like any of this is warranted at all. At the very most, it should have just been a warning, or like a verbal warning, but technically they already got that in the group chat after they said those things. But what upsets me the most is that they would then repeat the very same stuff with me they did with them. For one, once Ellie and another staff member, who I'm going to refer to as Pug, who I also will mention a bit later, found out about this, they basically just wanted Aero banned as soon as possible. At least that's how I see it. They gave Aero only a couple of minutes to actually explain themselves before booting them out. And they did very surface level research and just made up things about Aero to make them appear worse than they actually were. Because screenshots showed Pug was calling Aero a pedophile randomly, with their only actual quote-unquote proof was just the simple fact that Aero was 22 years old and Hicks was 16, even though this really isn't proof considering what they said towards Hicks, as this was basically just in the group chat was just a joke, and they didn't mean what they were saying. And Hicks would, in Aero's doc, basically defend them, which I do recommend you read yourself, because, quite frankly, I am paraphrasing, and these are basically just cliff notes. There's a lot more in the doc, and I just recommend reading it and getting your own opinion, Again, I didn't want to make this video. I know I already said that, but I felt the YouTube community should know about everything going on. I'm still cool with, all the people from BIAST that I'm still cool with being around. I deeply appreciate that. I guess just to randomly throw out some stuff. If anyone saw my Twitter, I did request my shop code be removed from the game, which it actually was. Even if it was only there for a short amount of time, and I think actually it was the only code for the code in the game, I previously stated that I didn't want to associate with the game anymore. Additionally, the code actually only gave you $50, which isn't enough for basically anything, nor is it even substantial enough to contribute to getting anything. And I feel like it was more so added out of pity or spite, rather, because they kept the code secret, possibly due to how abysmally low the money given was. The only thing that I'm aware of that even remotely references me in the game is now art that someone made that I remember being posted in ARC that's now in the game as a part of the lobby's gallery, where one of the characters is a Teapot NPC that's the same colors as John Teapot. But obviously I'm not the artist, so it's not up to me on whether that gets removed. I'm also hoping the staff don't decide to add any of my suggestions without, obviously, my permission. But, I wouldn't even be able to figure out if they did add them unless someone informs me, which is, semi-likely. This also means that the James Warrior 14 Slacker skin model that my friend Dulling made will definitely not be added, and I'm basically canceling working on my Geometry Cubed Hexa skin model. So that's basically all scrapped, unless Dulling comes up with something else to use the model for. Which, also probably means Devi does tutorials. 33 skins will never be added to BIAST unless someone working on the game makes them, which I also doubt, because it's, from what I've been told, the person who's in charge of skins getting added to the game just personally doesn't like Devi. So I did see that because of the drama, primarily from the aftermath of what happened to Aero, some staff and testers were all taking breaks or quitting, although none of them are what I would consider problematic staff. However, some said it's because they simply just weren't interested in the game anymore. The main person I saw was Cervico, who was, as I mentioned earlier, they were one of the few who were on my side from what Ellie did, quitting for reasons we still aren't fully sure of at the time of writing. All I know is that Pug, who I mentioned earlier, basically immediately turned on Cervico and replied to them, and basically took a screenshot of something that Cervico said that was very obviously a joke, and tried to use it to say that Cervico did bad stuff before leaving. However, they were very quickly called out by many people in their replies and swiftly tried to delete the tweet. But, someone gave a screenshot to me, so. And sometime afterwards, Cervico was banned from the BIAST Discord server for basically just quitting and having a small argument. And every person that I actually see talk about this basically say that something is different just regarding, like, what happened, like, stuff like that. I would have reached out to Cervico themselves, but I got the vibe, mostly from their Discord status, that they just wanted to be left alone, so I just wanted to respect that and just let them be, which they also are making their own response doc to why they quit and stuff like that, so I guess just, like, keep an eye out for that, for if and when they do put that out on their Twitter. I also saw someone who I thought was on neutral terms with me blocked me when I spoke out about what Finch did, as well as someone who followed both Ellie and Finch, insulting me on Twitter for coming out about stuff, so, yeah. Me and one of my very close friends were planning to stream together, as he also streams, and we were going to play BIAST, but that's obviously not happening after this. I also tried to get the opinions of some ex-devs, but all they wanted to put on the record and tell me was that they just hope that the staff gets more mature and or just gets older staff members, which I can agree with, although I don't think that's going to happen. Really, I really don't know what else to say, I guess. I'll be working on, like, a TF2, I guess, like, clip dump video from Halloween, and then see what comes to my mind from there, which right now it's just typical colors too, because that's also doing a Halloween event. Scopes and shovels. That's all I have on my mind right now, so it's that. Again, I have Aero's response doc in the description, so I recommend you read that, just so you make your own opinion. Or just read all the stuff in it. There's the very slim chance, and I mean very slim, I return to BIAST if they fix the problems they have and actually get a grip over their community and their staff team. But me and many others all believe that will never happen. Even though I just want this to be the end, I may make a really short video afterwards, just to, like, make any corrections to anything I say in this video, which it undoubtedly will be because I'm not perfect. Or if any staff want to reach out to me to essentially, like, come out about something, or if you want to say something to me, I guess, like, privately or anonymously, and want me to put it out there, because I guess at that point I'm willing to do that as well. I'm sorry if this seems That's great. This is what I hate being living in the home with my family, with my brother's home. Anyways, um, I'm sorry if it seems rushed. Obviously, under a deadline due to school, family, and the upcoming holiday of Thanksgiving, and trying to get this recorded with siblings in the house being loud, which hopefully I don't think there was too much background noise in this video besides what just happened a couple seconds ago. But, and right now. But I just felt I had to get this out, you know? I just felt like I really had to do this like as soon as possible because of deadlines. So I'm sorry if it's rushed. I'll see you all when I see you, I guess. I don't know. Um, Good morning or good night, whichever is most convenient. Goodbye, I guess. I'll see you all next time.